everybody, and welcome to Rattlers Run Farms right here in the hills and dales of the Palouse. I'm Trip Rogers along with my broadcast partner Eddie Wood today here on SWX. Some very, very classic racing about to happen in front of us, Eddie.
That's right, Trip. This is one of the most enjoyable races of the year to cover for us. Unique, obviously, vintage motocross, 1974 and older motocross bikes. It is exciting to be out here. They guys do a great job getting this facility ready for the riders. And we get riders from all over the Northwest, Oregon, Idaho, Washington, Montana, all the way down to California. It is a sanctioned race for ARMA, so it is a neat event here. Riding on the farm, I'm expecting some really fun racing. Great to see these fun bikes and great weather. We're lucky that the rain kind of went away, and we're doing really, really good today on the weather side of things.
Alfalfa standing below us, it creates a little bit of a problem out there for these riders.
It does, especially at the beginning. It's really slick, and the bikes will start chewing up the track really well as they get going. But at the beginning, that's a little bit of wetness in the alfalfa. It's really green. It's slick at the beginning, and you'll see some front ends wash out if you're not careful. So traction will be paramount to get things going at the beginning. As the bikes chew the dirt up and get the farm chewed up a little bit, it'll really come around. But slick at the beginning, and a lot of off-camber turns to watch to see how the riders can navigate those.
We'll see how they navigate it right after these words from our sponsors. Racing action coming up next on SWX. This special presentation of vintage motocross racing on SWX is brought to you by Northwest Steel Fab, your one-stop shop for steel, aluminum, and stainless steel fabrication, preparation, and coatings. We've been providing quality products to our customers worldwide since 1994. The number 3. In some circles, it's the Intimidator. But here, it's Joe Kopp. How you doing, Joe?
Good. How you doing, Trip? Having a fun day of the races.
It is a great day here at the ARMA Nationals. I see you've got your son Cody next to you here. Who's more famous now?
Yeah, Cody's rising up through the ranks. I guess he's still amateur. He's 14 and doing the amateur ranks in flat track racing, and he's getting there, but I think I got a couple on him still. Maybe still got something left for the old man, I'm assuming?
Yeah, for sure.
What is your favorite bike to ride these days, Cody?
My KTM 450 for sure right now.
A 450 for a 14-year-old. Any concerns?
Yeah, definitely some concerns for my wife and I, but he's pretty smart on the bike and doesn't take huge risks, too much. So makes our hearts beat a little bit softer if he's not doing that stuff. So, yeah, it's great to see him out there going around the tracks. And
how are you handling success so far, Cody?
Just try to be humble about it. Like, if somebody asks, I'll tell them, but I don't want to be the one who's bragging about it. So, yeah, just be humble about it for sure.
You're not able to ride this weekend because you're not old enough to ride in the ARMA Nationals, but old man here is.
Yeah, only 2 more years, but I'm excited for that day to come for sure.
And I said old man, you're just amongst the ranks of us now, 50 years old.
Yeah, turned the big 5-0 this summer, and just trying to stay on a bike, keep myself going and stuff like this and try to keep everything sharp and chase this kid when I can, and live life.
Thank you, Joe Kopp. Our classic 250 experts, intermediates, and Sportsman 500 experts out on the track right now. A lot of good riders here, Eddie.
Yeah, this is going to be, the cream of the crop, really, as you look at it. We'll have the Sportsman 500 expert class, and, of course, the name that jumps off the page is Joe Kopp out there. So you've got a 2-time Grand National flat track champion, and no surprise, he is out front.
Oh, boy, just a little bit of a hookup there from the 86. I believe that was that Skyper?
Well, there's
Maybe
the
Bush.
Familiar number 3. Smoking Joe Kopp out front. We saw him in practice really ripping along. He was setting the pace, obviously, early, and he's one to watch. I mean, it's really entertaining to watch him ride. Such technical skill, and then, of course, extremely fast. I would obviously going to say the fastest guy that's going to be here this weekend.
It really is amazing to watch a guy like Joe Kopp become one with a bike. And, you would think he has a favorite bike. I don't think he does.
I just think he loves every bike he's ever ridden because he's so good on all of them.
Boy, they are really racing into the lines behind him. Chet Melito out of Marshall, Washington. Mark Amaro out of Willows, California, trying to catch up to Joe Cobb. He's out in front right now on the number 3. Loves that number 3 Mako from Moto Concepts and KLP. Got a nice little Carl Landris swing arm on there.
Joe Cobb now 50 years old is Joe Cobb. Creeping up on him a little bit. Now he's the 50-year-old out front. Yeah, that's what he's got him down here is 50.
Holy
cow, that's gone by quite quick.
That may just go viral.
You'd never know it. I mean, look at him ride. You'd think he was 25. He's always been in great physical shape. Obviously, to compete at the level he did, that kind of goes hand in hand. So just a really smooth rider out front, though, and fun to watch him rip that Mako along.
You know, that's a berm maker up there.
Yeah,
you know, that Mako, it'll cut some grooves in this track.
Yeah, if there's ever somebody who's going to start tearing up a fast groove track, it'll be Joe out front as he continues to extend his lead and just pull away and take a quick look back to see where the rest of the competition is. But the group behind him, pretty competitive group there for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Those guys have stuck together, and we've got a battle shaping up there for that number 2 spot.
Look at this race coming in. Wow.
Those guys are right on each other. Yep. And here's a fast section of the track where they can come out of that kind of little chicane area, which is the finish line, and then they can really get on it and have a pretty fast sweeping left-hander that curves into a sharper right-hand turn and then right back on the gas real hard.
The 33 there of Dirk Murphy and the 40. They're both in different classes, but you can't tell them that. I mean, what are you going to whisper into their helmets and say, hey, you guys are both in first place in your class?
Yeah, all they know is there's a
You
bike in
don't have to race.
Yeah, the heck with that. If there's a bike in front of me, I got to try to pass him. That's about the way it works.
It's just not in these guys' DNA. So if there's a bike in front of them, you must get around them.
Yep. I'm not winning it. I want to win the overall no matter what. That's going to go to Joe right so far as he's still out front.
Right.
Another little left-hander there. And then this is the part of the track you're really cutting across the side of a hill, pretty steep hill there, and kind of leans your way into the hill. Then you turn and come down this really pretty good steep downhill descent part, which gets some serious speed going. As you can see, he's starting to get on the brakes hard, picks up the back end a little bit, and then they kind of slow him down out of there with a sharp left-hander, but then a nice sweeping kind of, but off camber a little bit, right-handed turn that he can just swoop, right-hand turn comes around that, and then hard back on the gas coming up the hill.
Beautiful shot of that bike there. A Mako.
They're coming right at us.
Joe Cobb heading into the squeeze one more time here as they head towards the finish line. This will be his white flag lap as they give him the white flag. And that's Kyle over there, our lead flagger.
Well, I tell you, Trip, who knew what we were going to get for weather as you looked over the last week or so? It was going to be rough, and now we've really got a beautiful sunny day out here in Fairfield.
Boy, I'll tell you what, these guys have literally been going at it the whole time. Chet Melito and Steve Gard. Mikey Allen takes the 98 across the line there and takes that beautiful Yamaha back up the hill for Allen Cycles. You know, the Trials trophy had Mike Allen's picture on it for the second year in a row.
Oh, that's a little distinguished honor there.
Well, you know, I think Mike might have had something to do with it.
That's probably very true. And that may be his picture on that thing permanently.
I think he's trying to become the logo, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
Jerry West.
The Jerry West.
Watch out. There goes Mike Allen back up the hill. And you know, this isn't just an average hill out here on the Palouse. This is a formidable one.
Yeah. You don't see these kind of conditions all the time. This isn't the kind of track that jumps out. I mean, when you've gone to some of these other vintage races, I've been to the one in Chehalis and some other areas, it's not quite like this at all. There are a lot flatter areas. This one's unique, and I'm sure the riders got to really love the challenge.
Here comes your leader. One last time through the squeeze. They will display the white flag for the 56, Terry Dale, and the checkered flag comes out for the number 3, Joe Cobb.
What a great run for Joe. Start to finish lead, and all he did was continually extend his lead throughout the entire race.
We're going to break away real quick here on SWX. More racing action from the ARMA Nationals in Fairfield, Washington, right after these words from our sponsors. Always fun running into Dallas Nyblood here this weekend. And Dallas, you've ridden this Jawa for quite some time. It's part of you.
Yeah, I've had the bike since 2006, and it's been a work in progress as far as how it's evolved over those years. And part of the fun for me is building the bike and maintaining it and riding it as well.
What are the challenges to keeping a bike like a Jawa running and as competitive as you make it?
Every year I tear it down, just check the cylinder, the bore, the pistons, adjust the valves, just check everything out, make sure everything's, the wear is good. There's no discrepancies, if you want to call it that. Just go through everything real clean, through the year. Then that'll get me through the race year to, the major stuff. Then there's always the minor stuff that you got to do as you go race to race.
Our premier 500 experts, Dallas Nyblood, Matt Parsons, our premier 500 intermediates, George Vadney and Sean Fromhold, twins experts, Matt James and Peter Crittenden, our premier open twins intermediate, Sean Chase. You see the Anderberg's name pop up in this race as the Classic 500 intermediate Brian Anderberg on his BSA riding the Rattlers Run Farms number 301 out here today. Doug Brown out of Dublin, California, also in the Classic 500 intermediates. And you've also got the 60-plus novice class that's riding out here in this particular race with Richard Bryant, Mark Evans, Norm Wright, Dennis Rhodes, Cy Yee from San Francisco. He's the one that told us he saw us all the way from Fairfield, Washington, down in San Fran. We've got to send a shout out to him, as well as Michael Carpenter out of Sammamish on the Honda here today.
Another clean start to get this group off and running. Looks like some of the twins are out front, maybe. It looks like Matt James and maybe Peter, who was that? Crittenden, yeah, out of Livermore, California, another California rider. So those guys are out front to get this one started. You can really hear the difference of those bikes now.
There's
the twins versus
and that it really is part of the artistry of these bikes is the sound they make.
Yeah, it is completely different than what we're used to seeing anymore on the four strokes that we are out seeing at the
flat track races and
exactly.
Motocross.
Yep, that's totally different.
Wow.
These guys are cruising along out front. There's
Dallas
Dennis
Nyblood.
Yeah.
Nyblood on the 2Y as he makes his way into the squeeze. He's got the Matt James number 3R behind him
on that Triumph.
Yep, that's two different leaders there. They've also got the 3P of Matt Parsons not too far behind them. But those two riders, they're going to make it a race all throughout this one. And we've seen Matt James do this before.
Oh, yeah.
Sit back in second place for a couple of laps and try to size up a rider that's in front of him.
He's good at that. He's got a lot of experience and a rider and racer that's kind of spent a lifetime doing this stuff. So we'll interested to see what he does as he's sizing up Nyblood there and following him around. Those guys got a good fast line and kind of tracking each other one after another.
Nyblood out of Puyallup, Washington on the Jawa.
Yeah, there you go. There's an old. Yeah, that's the first one of the Jawas we've seen today.
Yeah.
But this race is full of different bikes, from CZs to BSAs to Triumphs, Nortons, Jawa. Norton. This is it. It's a little of everything.
Some of them, of course, are two-strokes and are already pre-oiled with a mixture. But those four-stroke twins sometimes, they sometimes have a little bit of a difficulty not only breathing but getting themselves lubricated.
Go ahead, and that's where you start to see so much of the work that goes into keeping these bikes rideable, and let alone raceable, but keeping them running really crisp and clean, and being able to go out there with confidence, knowing that the bike is going to perform like you want, and then you can focus on the riding and the racing aspects of it, and not, is my bike going to give me an issue or not.
Right.
So that's where so much of this work goes into these guys keeping these things in race shape. That could be a little bit of a job in the pits throughout, from event to event, making sure that you're safe out there. That always messes with you as a racer. If you're worried about the bike and how it's going to perform, or if it's going to be safe or not, and
right.
It just mentally can take you a percentage of your thought away from what you really want to be doing and focusing on the riding and racing aspect.
Yeah, that's a beautiful bike. Matt James on that Matt James riding the Triumph for Captain Dirt. Dallas Nyblad starting to come through the back of the pack here as he makes his way back up the hill. You can see those beautiful rolling hills of the Palouse behind him. And what a dream track it is. It really is kind of, we hear about the Yankees and the Red Sox are going to be playing on the Field of Dreams this year. And we've been playing on the Field of Dreams for 13 years.
Yeah, this is really that way. I mean, it has that if you build it, they will come kind of aspect, because as they line this thing out, and the next thing you know, it's one 30-foot motorhome after another with a race trailer behind it ready to show up. And they're here with great attitude. It was fun walking around the pits this morning and just grabbing breakfast. You've got espresso stands, and Fred Nix was here with their breakfast, lunch, and dinners that they've been putting on. So, I mean, it's really a comfortable environment for the entire weekend to enjoy it.
How do you like downtown Rattlers Run?
Yeah, it's pretty darn good. Pretty darn good.
Main Street's getting a little busy around here.
I cut out, coming out of Spokane, I cut down out through, I guess, Sprague, and came back on the cut through the hill on the road that's not maintained. That thing was
Chapel Hill.
Yeah, a little. I came
right
the other way.
I
was a little. Glad I had the Subaru Crosstrek this morning. Made it.
Oh man, there's the 54R of Richard Bryant. He's out of San Jose, California, on his CZ. As we mentioned, giving you the opportunity to listen to these bikes as well as see them is part of the festivities here at Rattlers Run. White flag lap for Dallas Nyblad as he heads up the hill one more time. The sound is a bit intoxicating at times.
Real deep, throaty. You can hear that. The sound of those Triumphs, the sound of those twins, it really is neat. And the bigger those bigger two-strokes really have that loud, barky bite to them, and they really can dig in, man. Once those things hit those power bands, it's like you see guys they lurch forward,
right,
and just take off. It's a fun one. They're fun to hold on to and just twist the throttle. And there's enough section of this track where you can really get on it pretty hard and really enjoy the speed and the power of the bike. You guys take it serious. They're all friends in the pits, boy. They get on the track, and it becomes they're here to compete. They're here to win. They're here to race, and that's the thing about racing. It's not just a Sunday cruise. It's to go out and put the bike and yourself to the test and challenge yourself and compete against each other. Makes it pretty special event with that. What is there, 200 and some riders that we're going to be here able to compete like that. That's a pretty fun thing to be able to come together.
I'm saying it's probably closer to 250.
Wow. Yeah, that's
like
pretty
that.
darn good. We'll take it.
A lot of riders from all around the West Coast coming to the ARMA Nationals here at Rattlers Run, Fairfield, Washington, USA. On the map as the 15R passes by us, that's George Vadney on the Triumph. Here comes Nyblad. One more time through this squeeze section of track, as we call it. He looks behind him and says, "This was a good ride."
Yeah, that was. What a great ride for the 2Y there.
Let's find out who Ari James is. Ari, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Trip?
You've been dominating quite a few races out here today, and some of the boys aren't pleased.
That's what I've been noticing.
Tell us what you're riding today, the Mako, right?
I am a 440.
This thing's got a lot of power.
A lot of power. More than I can handle.
Maybe even a little bit too much power for the clutch in this thing.
Oh, yeah. My clutch is starting to slip, which is driving me a little nuts, but that's okay. It's part of the racing.
It is part of vintage racing to have something niggling you, right?
Of course, something has to break or be on the verge.
The last time we saw you out at the flat track, you were heading off to college. Tell us how it went.
College went good. Graduated. Now I'm down in Vancouver, Washington. A big good job as an engineer. Come back when I can.
UW?
I actually graduated Gonzaga.
So I remember we were talking about UW when we first started this whole process.
That is true. I did go to UW for a hot minute and then brought it back home.
Well, Ari, it's fun watching you out on the track today.
Thanks, Trip.
Thanks, Ari. And here comes our next group of riders. It's the Open Age Intermediates, 40-plus experts, and 40-plus intermediates out here on the track at Fairfield, Washington. Rattlers Run Farms is the exact spot you'll find on the map if you try to Google us. Good start there.
Yeah, that's a pretty good group of riders out there. That bunched up a little bit as they're going to that first left-hand corner. See how they come out of this one. As this is
guessing that's Allen.
Boy, and guys, a couple guys going a little wide. You can see the dust fly up as they get outside the groove a little bit.
Dustin Brzezinski in there as well. Troy Allen on the number 30, Dustin Brzezinski on the 16F, Matt Johnson on the 69M, McCary Hudson on the 563, Sidney Mock on the number 597, Robert Toronto on the 67V, Mark Bayer on the 67U. And boy, they are all bunched up coming back up the hill.
Yeah, that's a group of riders that are going by the American flag up there, and they are all neck and neck through that section.
Here's the opportunity to turn up your television sets and get a chance to really hear the essence of these bikes. A lot of two-strokes in this particular class, and a lot of our good riders riding out there on those bikes.
Looks like one of the riders stalled up there on the top of the course, but so far a pretty clean start, especially with this many guys riding side by side. We're seeing 2 and 3 neck and neck right beside each other, but still clean riding and good racing to get this one going, race number 6.
You know, one of the things you do notice that even with the tight squeeze turns that they have towards the finish here, plenty of room out here.
Yeah, you can get side by side throughout the entire track. There may be some obviously areas you'd rather be on the inside than out, but you can be too wide pretty easily throughout the majority of the entire track and give each other enough room.
Jeff Mendez out of Red Bluff, California. Woo! Getting a little squirrely there on the CZ. The 92Q getting out of the groove as well. George Amaro out of Willows, California. He's back on track though. No harm, no foul. Vintage motocross. You'll never see anything like this. It's amazing. Jeff Mendez on the 105R. He's going to kick down a shift here on the CZ. Now, a Czechoslovakian bike out there on the track. What gives, Eddie? I mean, the Czechs really had an upper hand in the early renditions of motocross with the Norwegians and all the Scandinavian riders from Roger de Coster, the Belgian riders,
Yeah, Europe really took off. I mean, it just became such a huge area of motocross, and they had such similar conditions, I think, that they were able to ride and race in, and this is amazing to see what they got going and the technologies that they helped develop with everybody, because then you really saw a transfer from that into the Japanese motorcycles that came along, and Honda, Suzuki, Kawasaki, Yamaha really took it from there and built on it.
Good reason why we don't see bikes like Bultaco, CZ, Penton, Mako still today. By the way, it just came to me, Mako was Bend, Oregon.
There you go.
That's where we got the Bend, Oregon connection to Mako. But
difficult marketplace to be in, though, too, Trip. I mean, you look at even with how bike sales are and how many can there be? How many can you know, it's not easy to have a motorcycle manufacturing company and be one of hundreds or 100. You know, there's got to be a limit on what the market will bear, and that kind of always weeds things down and weeds people out.
Really, due to the motorcycle market making an adjustment, we have now 5 or 6 major manufacturers: Husky, KTM, Honda, Yamaha.
And you've seen, you know, Husky come back, Husqvarna come back, and now be in the Supercross Motocross series. And that's, you know, a new addition over the last couple of years, because for a number of years it really was just Yamaha, Kawasaki, Honda, Suzuki, and KTM, and now you had the addition of Husky coming back, and it stops there.
Yeah. There goes Mendes one more time up the hill as the 95 behind him, Craig Jones. Oh, actually, I should say the 95V, Cesar Vasquez out of Willows, California. Jones is being shown in about 4th, 5th place, and I believe he is the most local rider we've got. All these riders are from out of state, out of California or wherever, and man, we couldn't be more blessed with all these riders from out of state today.
Yeah, because we look down the list here. I mean, you're seeing Salem, Oregon, Bend, Oregon, Athol, Idaho, Portland, another Bend rider, Willows, California, Red Bluff, California, Lewiston, Idaho. I mean, it's well represented. Are there all these cities and states from around the Northwest and down into California? More guys from outside of Washington in these races, some of them that are from Washington. So a lot of traveling to get here.
Well, looking back in the pack and towards the finish line right now, I see that Troy Allen on his Yamaha is back in the race. I believe he had a little off-track excursion, taking the scenic route around the track a little earlier, and so he is back in the race, though.
Still slick out there. There's still some spots looking around the track where it's easy to slide your bike out and slide out from underneath you. You can get a little more confident now as the traction is coming around, but at the same time, that can give you a little bit too much gas coming out of these corners and loop yourself out and slide the rear end around and go down. So there's still a lot of balancing going on out there to making sure that as you're getting a little bit faster and able to give it a little bit more gas, that you still feather it enough not to overdo it and ride over your head a little bit and have the thing slide out from underneath you. You can see some of these corners where the front end could wash out or slide out, or you just give it so much gas that the back end just comes right around on you.
Yeah. Jeff Mendez is going to take it one more time up the hill as the white flag is out this time around for these riders in the 40-plus expert class, open age intermediates, and 40-plus intermediates out here on the track.
It's been a good run for Mendez out front. He's from Red Bluff, California. Yeah. So another long-distance rider that's here, and he's extended his lead and really in a really good spot now.
Some beautiful bikes out here at Fairfield's annual event called Rattlers Run. And we're glad to be bringing it to you today on SWX. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Trip Rogers along with Eddie Wood. We are here on a beautiful day, and you look up, man, they said it would be raining today. Well,
it's not.
Well, I should say, a week ago, they said it may be raining today.
But it was changing from day to day as fall was coming in. Yeah.
Welcome to fall in the great Northwest.
Yeah, I was hoping we wouldn't be sitting here with umbrellas over our head, and then, of course, that takes away from, if you get a real muddy, sloppy track like that, that's just not going to be as much fun as you're sliding around, and you can't really enjoy the speed of the bikes and the power of what they can do. All you're worried about is traction for the most of the time. And
I'll go ahead and knock on wood.
So far, we're
say, we have not had a rain out here at Fairfield, and that's 13 years running.
Yeah, they've had some pretty good luck, and today may be as good as they've had.
Amazing facility out here. The Anderbergs and the James family really put forth a tremendous effort to bring you this race. And, of course, SWX doing their part. Thank you so much to SWX for 10 years of coverage of motorsports, including motocross, here in the greater inland Northwest. It's just awesome. The checkered flag's going to come out, and Jeff Mendez out of Red Bluff, California is going to take it, and he'll take it into the pits. That'll do it for race number 6 here. Open age intermediates and 40-plus experts in intermediates. We've got more racing action from Fairfield, Washington right after these words. Don't go anywhere. Vintage Motocross race coverage from Rattlers Run Farms is brought to you by Taco Del Mar, Live Baja, Coastal Mexican Cuisine in River Park Square, downtown Spokane, and by Thrifty Car Rental. Rent or buy a great vehicle, 2 locations to serve you. 8022 East Sprague Avenue in Spokane and 1503 North 4th Street in Coeur d'Alene. By Ritter's Garden and Nursery for all your nursery and garden supplies plus gifts, located at 10120 North Division Street. And by High Mountain Horsepower. Get everything you need for your truck as well as used trucks for sale. 3020 North Flora Road in Spokane Valley. All right, this is a good one here. The 500 Classic Experts, Sportsman 500 Intermediates and Experts coming out onto the track, Eddie. A lot of good riders.
Yeah, we've got about 14 riders on the gate or so, and so these are some of the bigger bikes, the powerful 500s. They're going to sound a little bit deeper, throatier out there, and good, clean start here. We're seeing how that first corner goes, and that's off to a good one. We'll see who gets out front, and I've got a few guesses, but I think that Nyblood will probably be out front for sure pretty quickly.
I'll tell you what, he's really had that Jawa going at a clip today, which is not the easiest thing to do when it comes to vintage bikes. You know, keeping these bikes going fast, that's
work.
That's a lot of work.
That's work, yeah. Luckily, you got a lot of guys in the pits that know how to work on these bikes, and a lot of mechanical skill that are always at these events where people can literally tear your bike all the way down and put it back together. That's a unique skill set and pretty important when you got to work on these things as much as they do to keep them race ready.
I mean, how hard it must be to try to find points for a BSA.
Yeah,
you know, when they don't do anything close to that anymore. A good race for first place out there.
Those guys are side by side going down the hill.
It looks like it's the 86 of Carter Anderson, I believe, in there.
And
Let's
Dallas.
just double check. As they come towards us, we'll be able to pick them off a little easier.
Yeah, that's exactly who we thought out front.
Dallas Nyblood standing up on the bike, getting down in the corners. Man, he is doing everything he can to transfer weight from one portion of that Jawa to the next. And
he's got his hands full, though, with Anderson from Granite Falls,
definitely.
Washington out front. He's not watching Anderson on the 86W out front. He, from time to time, has been peeking around, taking a look back to see what kind of a lead he has, and every time he looks back, he's got company right behind him, so can't really afford to make any errors up front as the lead starts to narrow down as they head up the hill.
Good races all over the place in this particular race, number 7 out on the track right now with our Classic 500 experts, Early Sportsman 500 intermediates and experts. Jeff Mullins out of Sunnyvale's out there with Carter Anderson. They're riding in the Early Sportsman 500 expert class with Zane Amaro out of Willows, California. So 2 California riders in the expert class 500s. And 1 rider from Granite Falls, Washington. That's Carter Anderson leading him around the track. He's out there in a battle with Dallas Nyblood out of Puyallup on the number 2Y.
Down the hill again they come. Still staying real tight at the...
It looks like we've got a rider down, and yeah, and I'm guessing they are probably going to, well, at least yellow flag that section off, if not red flag it. They're going to red flag this race, I believe.
Yeah, it looks like enough of a get off, enough of an injury that it would have to. Definitely got to slow him down to that section. We'll see what happens here.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, as those guys were running into hay bales.
Yeah.
Looks like the rider is standing. Is it a couple bikes that maybe went down together that got together?
Yeah.
They're pushing the leaders are coming through now, and they're pushing them wide as you see them go behind the guys that are being attended to. And they got the yellow flag out in that corner now. That's up to give those guys enough room. It looks like they're able to walk off the track to the inside of the field there, which will get them out of the race line and give them a little more time to see what ascertain how the riders are doing there. The one thing, look, you see the guys all helping them out.
What happened here.
See if we can see these. Looks like two guys come together and high side.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Two lines converging there.
Yeah, they're not moving too quick after they went down. That looked pretty rough. Boy, everybody's.
I hasten to say,
looks like they remount or starting to walk back in and they're pushing the bikes off. So that's good to see.
yeah, we're trying to pick off the numbers as they come past us to see if we can catch a clear number.
But our leaders, still, these guys have been racing neck and neck, and the lead is shrunk now as Anderson has Nyblood right on his tail. These guys have really tightened things down as they kind of run into some lap traffic, and then the obviously going through the section with the yellow flag. That's the one thing about the yellow flag. When you're the leader, you're going to come to that area and slow down first, but it allows the guy to sneak up behind you a little bit.
It totally tightens everything up.
It'll tighten it way down, and then you can get right up on him and then hit the brakes hard and slow down.
And there goes Nyblood around Anderson.
Yeah, this is these guys are right neck and neck, like we said. They'll have to see how they can navigate and give each other enough room where
Anderson back down on the inside. He clips the hay bale.
Where they are close.
Wow. Here comes the white flag. One more lap of this.
That's an area where it does narrow down pretty quick, so you don't have a lot of side-by-side racing that can go through that section.
That's exactly what it's meant to do, Eddie.
It worked. And you can see these guys coming in hot.
There is a clip. Oh, boy. Carter Anderson grabbed it with that foot peg there and almost took it with him.
But now it looks like Anderson was able to get back around him as they went through some lap traffic. You can see Nyblood's racing gear, that kind of the black outfit that he has. Oh, now he's still got him out front. There you go. These guys, this will be shaping up for a great final lap. The best racing we've seen in today.
It's Nyblood now coming across the track and heading across the top tier.
When Anderson just looks like he's just waiting to find a spot where he can get around him. As they come back down through this turn here, and they do that. Oh, he lost some traction there, did Anderson. But he seems to have some good area there on when you kind of cut across the mountain where he can get some speed and see if he can out race him through this section here. This is the fast part of the track.
So it's Dallas Nyblood, followed by Carter Anderson.
This downhill will determine a lot as this is another high-speed section of this track.
Nyblood showing no fear, no fade of brakes. Anderson the same. Riding a CZ, Carter Anderson out of Granite Falls.
About 4 turns to go, and Nyblood with a good corner there as he comes out of that one and gets back on the gas as he goes slightly uphill.
I'm guessing these guys have raced together before, being from Granite Falls and Puyallup.
Now you're watching Nyblood here. He'll stay tight on the inside of these hay bales and not give him any room to get around him.
Oh, and he clips the back end of Nyblood. Carter Anderson goes down, but he is okay, jumps back on the bike. It'll be Nyblood, followed by,
more than likely, probably Anderson, because those guys had built a pretty good lead. The key is he's got to get it fired up again.
They're both leading, I believe, their respective classes there. So.
Yeah, that was some tight racing action as they really came in hot to those last corners.
Let's take a look at it again.
Right on his tail.
Oh, just caught the knobby.
That was rough.
That stopped the front tire completely for just that quick millisecond.
Yeah.
Just enough to throw him off the bike.
Here they sit and talk about the race. Those guys, that was some competitive action there. Fun to watch.
One of the funnest things about being here at the ARMA Nationals is not only seeing the bike, but seeing the people behind the bikes. We've got this beautiful Ducati 750 Sport. Al Anderberg, could you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, it's a 73. This is how it looked when it came off the showroom floor in 73, 60 some odd years ago. And I bought it in 78 from the original owner, and I've ridden it around the United States. I've ridden the heck out of it, but I preserved it. It's all original, and that's part of the fun of owning something, is to be able to use it and to be able to just look at it and just enjoy looking at it. It's just a beautiful piece, and it has appreciated in value hugely, which is a bonus.
Can you expand upon that a little bit?
At auction, and I'm watching because I'd like to find a new home for it, because it just doesn't fit like it did when I was 25 years old, and they're hovering in the 60s to 75,000 is where I'm thinking.
Wow.
Yeah, I paid $2,500 for it, so it's a good investment.
How many of these would you find in the United States today?
300 to 400 maybe. But I think that's pretty close to the number that was originally done, and most of them got used up. I mean, they went to the track. It was a race bike that you could buy off the showroom floor, so a lot of them got used up, thrown away, and replaced with something more competitive. But I've just kept it as it was and enjoyed it and enjoy owning it. And like you say, it's part of the joy of vintage, probably any sport. For me, motorcycles, is to own them and love them, and you go after something that you used to enjoy. And this I happen to have brought along with me for my whole life. It's fun.
Tell us a little bit about the beer.
The beer was... I bought it at an auction. I bought the ability to have a micro-brewed batch brewed for you with a custom label. I thought, well, that would be fun to do for the races. And so it was a donation for Hayden Charter School. It was starting up. And I probably gave more money than I should. And now that I have it, I can't, what do you do with it? You can't sell it. You don't want to give it away. So we found a charity that worked real well for our granddaughter. She's got Downs, and we happened to run across this horse therapy ranch, 2BU Ranch, up in Mount Spokane, and they do it for next to nothing for kids that really don't get to live a normal life. And they get on a horse, and they're working with this horse. They teach them how to work with the horse. They teach them how to ride it, how to give commands. And a nonverbal Downs girl was giving this horse commands. And it was doing it, and it was just so fun to watch. And so I thought, what a great way to generate more money off of my original donation and give it to a worthy cause. So that's what we're doing.
Al, thank you so much. 2BU, check them out online, and thank you for what you do. This is a lot of fun to watch.
It is. I really appreciate everybody that loves doing it and seeing it. It's just, we'll do it again next year.
Here comes a good one off the gate. As the 30-second board goes down, our Sportsman 250 experts and intermediates now hit the track.
Let's see how this start takes shape, as there is a handful of riders out there. A lot of bikes that just took the track, and they're all in the 250 class, intermediate and experts, so we're kind of a good group.
John Seahorn out of Rockford, Washington, one of those riders, and yeah, he's a Mica-Billy. And you may know Seahorn from his Facebook page, and of course, he gets a lot of followers because he is a rallycross driver. He is a WRX driver, drives a Subaru, I believe, still.
Wow, that'd be a lot of fun. I had my Subaru on the dirt roads out here this morning, and it was a little fun just getting out here. That's great.
Well,
it's fun stuff.
I think his Subaru is
may outdo
a little bit more specialized.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Well, this is a good clean start, though. This is nice to see this big of a group be able to get off the gate so cleanly. We've had some good luck so far with the starts of these races.
That is Seahorn out in front racing against the 96 of Lon Alexander out of Lake Taps, Washington. Lon riding the Suzuki Seahorn on the classic Yamaha.
As back-to-back races now, we have really a good battle for first and second.
John Seahorn riding the 8A Yamaha.
Here they come towards the finish line area. These guys are right on each other again, so just shaping up for another excellent race here, race number 8.
It's Seahorn, followed by Alexander. One of the things you'll notice is the English these guys ride with. You know, a little bit of moxie, if
Yeah,
you
you're
will.
moving around. I mean, you're shifting your weight quite a bit around the bikes, and riding position and technique so important to be able to maintain traction and keep your speed and everything in place. So that it's really important, the skill level that these guys have and it's a great way to learn for younger riders, less experienced riders. You get to watch some of these guys and see the techniques and the way that they move around to control the bike and keep them fast and safe.
One of the things you'll notice that, Joe Kopp, a few others like to do, they do like to stand up on the bike. And just the same way you see Seahorn, he sits down in the corners for a moment, but as soon as he gets the opportunity to stand up and pull back on those handlebars.
Now he's off the seat there quite a bit. I mean, he's been riding as much as anybody off the seat as we've seen today. Then he'll sit down and really anchor the weight down in those corners and then get off it as he's coming into the braking bump sections, then dip right back down, get some weight down on that rear tire and get the traction he wants.
Quite artistic what he's doing
There
out
it
there,
is.
little
It's a little
paintbrush
dance.
and a canvas out there, and he's just pretty much
Flying
spreading
along.
dirt all over the place. It's awesome. Beautiful to watch.
And good groups, as you can see the group of riders right there, just all bunched together riding and racing. There's different sections of this track where there's multiple individual battles going on. A couple sections where there's 5 or 6 bikes all kind of bunched together, so fun racing throughout the entire track.
The number 8A, John Seahorn, Rockford, Washington rider, part-time Subaru driver. And I'm not just talking about the family wagon.
No, that's more rallycross style.
I believe he's in Rally America.
That sounds like that'd be some fun stuff. So obviously a racer in every aspect of the term.
Fun to watch on TV, I know that.
Looks like about third place is that Thomas Gwynn.
That is.
The 21T from Fairfield as well, so right
You
here.
remember Thomas from his days out at Airway?
He's riding a Honda as well, so you got a lot of local guys kind of in Rockford and Fairfield in the top 3.
Certainly that Micah Billy influence out there, rearing its head.
Yeah, these guys will be real familiar with each other as far as their abilities.
There's Lauren Smith out of Des Moines, Washington on his CZ.
Seahorn continues, though, to set the pace in this one.
We always tried to figure out what the CZ stood for, you know. Czechoslovak. Czechoslovak.
That's what they got. They were something else. Some of these bikes are starting to become worth a little bit of money now. It's not cheap to acquire some of these vintage bikes. They're more rare, and you can start looking for, searching them out to try to buy some of the bikes, and they're a little expensive, and for good reason. They're rare.
There's that CZ of Lauren Smith out of Des Moines, Washington. John Seahorn starting to make his way around the 217 of Pete Hughes.
He's really fast out there. He's moving. One of the faster riders of the day that we've seen. He's setting a pretty good lap time.
White flag lap this time around. One more to go for John Seahorn on the 8A as he makes his way across the transitional divide there for the starting gate. Now starts to, he grabbed a mailbag there for a second.
You don't
almost
want to,
caught up in his.
that could have derailed the whole program. You want to stay away from any of these hay bale covers and things like that. The Motion Pro has got those covered.
Yeah.
But boy, those get caught up in your rear tire, and that's going to end the program.
It certainly should, at least. Oh boy, he is getting all over it up top. Not letting off the throttle one bit, John Seahorn.
No, he's got a nice lead, but you wouldn't know it. He's racing as hard as he was when it was neck and neck, and it is now when he's got a 300-yard lead. But that's the fun of it. He's really putting the bike through the paces out there.
Just putting the screws to that bike. Really, just, I mean.
He hasn't letting off at all.
You know, we talk about the vintage bike and sometimes the fragile nature of a vintage bike, but you don't see that out here a lot.
Well, Seahorn sure is treating it like it's not fragile.
I mean,
giving it all it's got. Yeah, really good run for him, though. He's been consistent the entire way and got up front, got that lead, and just continued to pull away and created a nice, comfortable lead and a nice victory for him.
You know, maybe one day we should bring the modern bikes out here to race against these guys, just to see what would happen.
It'd be an interesting one.
I'm guessing there may not be a lot of difference in some of these classes.
A lot of it's going to be skill level primarily. Who's ever got to have the best skill and the most comfort level on a track like this and can go the fastest, they're going to do it.
John Seahorn takes the checkered flag in race number 8, the Sportsman 250 Expert Class, Sportsman 250 Intermediates. It'll be Lon Alexander out of Lake Tapps, Washington in second, wrapping up race number 8. We're going to take a quick timeout from the racing action. Don't go anywhere. We've got more racing right around the corner. One of the most important things you need to know in the world today, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you go, Siege is there. How you doing, Chris?
How are you, sir?
How about that race you were just in? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, one of the things that's important about the sport that I think is fantastic is everybody here is family. So when I went out this morning on my Czechoslovakian race bike, it looks like I forgot to tighten the top of the fork. So the fork blew up and blew oil all over me. And so I wandered through the pits, and it was literally 90 seconds before someone walked by. In this case, it was Mr. Rick DeFord, who said, "Do you want to take my mag?" Mag is like magnesium, so this is the magnesium Husqvarna. And so I got to race a beautiful prepared race bike. And that's the difference between this and modern racing, I have to say. I'm not hashing on anybody, but this is family. Everybody here helps everybody, and it's amazing.
It is amazing, and this bike's amazing. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it's a Swedish 250. It's called the Magnesium 250 because it has magnesium cases to keep it light. And when you're getting on somebody else's bike, especially if you've had no practice, you have to be able to adapt.
Yeah.
And so I discovered in a couple laps that the main thing about this bike is you need to keep shifting. Winding it out will not cause more power. It's as though each gear has a levels off. But if you go to the next one, there's more juice there.
Very interesting. Of course, you're part of Hellbent Racing. You make a lot of shirts. They're all behind you. A commemorative shirt this year.
It's actually not motocross, but my brother and I went to the Isle of Man, which is basically the racing capital of the world. The fiercest. If you figured out all the racing in the world, let's say this is 0 and this is 100. There's the stuff that we do, and then there's the Indy 500. Then there's a long space, and there's the Isle of Man way up here. So we got to go, and some colleagues of ours in England, Simon Riley and John Wood, set us up with some 40s and 50s appropriately cool Isle of Man Manx bikes. And so we got to ride on the course, not as competitors, but just on hallowed ground.
Manx bikes, that's awesome. And I assume you had a little fun when you went around Glen Helen.
Glen Helen was amazing, and by the time we went around it, hilariously, we were trying to drive home before the road closed. And on the Isle of Man, the track is the road. And so when they close it, no one is allowed on it. And so we're trying to get home before the road closed so we wouldn't have to go around the coast road. And I suddenly realized that all the spectators were there, all the marshals were there, the road is clear. There's two of us on two 1949 motorcycles, and I'm getting faster and faster, and I couldn't help it. I began to wave to the crowd. Then the crowd was waving back, and I'm like, yes, finally.
That's got to be a bucket list for you.
Yeah, beyond bucket list.
Siege, thank you so much.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, gentlemen.
Our Sportsman 500 Intermediates, this is one of those classes where you really get the enthusiast riding out here. We're talking about guys like CJ. He sells T-shirts. He supports the sport of vintage motocross like none other, and he is a wealth of knowledge.
And that's great. I mean, those are the guys that are so fun to talk to down in the pit area, and they kind of live and breathe what they're doing out here, and just such a pride and passion that they take for this sport. And you can feel it right away when you start to talk to them. They just it's been a life for them. It is their lifestyle. And when anybody that you come across that has such a passion and pride, and they do, it's always just refreshing to be around it and hear it. And if you love motocross and motorcycles, some of these guys are some of the greatest guys to be able to talk with and just hear stories and races and just the progression of everything over the last 30, 40 years.
Ari James.
Kind of a mix out here. Yeah, we had Ari earlier. She took the women's expert class. She's right up front again.
Greg Jones on the 95, Ari James on the 5R. Dale Tomovey on the number 07, Mark Percy on the 8S. Chuck Duran on the 74.
Yeah, this is shaping up to be a good start here. A good battle there. As the first 5 riders are relatively bunched together.
Going to be interesting as they make it into the squeeze here. This is the section of the track meant to slow these riders down, but hasn't been terribly successful in doing that today because these guys are guys and gals. Both hooking up pretty good out there.
Ari's starting to get some company here.
The 92 right behind Ari James is George Amaro out of Willows, California, followed by the 07 of Dale Tomovey, the 563 of McCary Hudson. There's no splitting 1 and 1 here. This is a first and a second place distribution of trophies in this one.
Yeah, 11 different riders out on the track, so it's 1 through 11, and that's the true number. And as they get up towards the top part of the racetrack there and work their way down through the off-camber sections. This will be an interesting to see which, from a power standpoint, as we're making a move, is Amaro up there. James stays on the inside there. Protects a fast line, and so you want to stay tight here and really block off the opportunity to pass and make that bike in second place have to go wide, which is obviously going to be not as fast. Good running.
A testament to these bikes and how well they're built. The Mako and that Husky right behind her, boy, they take a pounding out here.
Fast section here as they're coming up. I mean, that downhill, they really can get going, and then you're hard on the brakes there and slow yourself down into a left right-hand turn. But this right-hander, it starts to become sweeping turn. You can see as the bikes are going along, they're kicking up dust and really having a roost come off that rear tail, which, as you can see on the television screen, when you see that roost of dirt kicking up, that's a lot of power being put down to the dirt.
It's a drag race into the squeeze here. The 5R of Ari James, the 92Q of George Amaro.
Ooh, she had a rough corner there. Regathered herself and back on the gas.
And I'll tell you, Amaro is doing everything he can to get around Ari James. And boy, this is getting very close as they head up the hill. Catching some of that green alfalfa on the inside there.
You can see there's a good part of that Mako putting some power down there.
Yep.
Ari was able to hold him off.
What a competitor, though. Ari James, man, I got to say, looking at the way she's been racing today, man, there may be no stopping her if George Amaro can't get around her here.
Ooh, that's tight there.
They are racing each other so clean. No funny business going on here, that's for sure.
Ooh, here's a chance for Amaro. He got onto the inside, and Ari shuts the door on him.
She shuts the door. And once again, good, clean racing.
Yeah, they didn't come together. She was able to get the angle and take that inside track and hold the position.
Definitely one of the races of the day so far. The
Here we go.
Sportsman 500 Intermediates. Ari James, Georgia Morrow.
We got 9 Mile Washington out front and Willows, California in second. And here they go side by side. Amaro trying to get her on the outside.
And he does.
Good pass. That was a good clean pass. Had a really good run down the hill there. And now we'll see if Ari can track him back down.
Well, that Mako's got a lot of down-in power. Down in the dirt power.
Amaro,
I wouldn't put it past her. To try to
hard
sneak
on the
in
gas.
here. Georgia Morrow on that Husky, though, same type of power.
See, now that what Amaro can do that, he's got.
And he goes off
wide.
course. He gets back on before she catches back up. That's
Morrow's
okay.
got a little bit
No
of
harm,
a run there. Yeah.
No harm, no foul.
Morrow's able to extend the lead a little bit now. Like he got some clean track in front of him and really put the power down. It drove him wide in that corner. He went behind a hay bale, but he's got a little bit of a gap now and see if he can hold her off.
Some of these portions of the track are starting to distort towards those ribbons, as you can tell in these turns as the track continues to break in. Early this morning, this was a pure alfalfa field.
Yeah, and the entire track, you saw everything was green. It was just green, low-cut alfalfa, and now, yeah, those are all long gone as it's got a nice dirt track to it. I'd like to talk to some of the riders and just see from a traction standpoint how much it's changed and how good it is and how well they're able to hook up out there. From the speed that we're seeing, they're definitely putting the power down. It doesn't look like there's anything that's holding them back.
Amazing displays of racing from all of our riders in the Sportsman 500 Intermediate class, but especially Ari James trying to hold off George Amaro there for most of that race. Now Amaro starting to stretch out his lead just a little bit as Ari is relaxed just a little bit, content with second place, I believe, at this point. But man, what a great race, Eddie.
This was a good one, yeah. And Amaro's still giving it all she's got out there. He knows if he makes any mistakes,
right,
Ari's going to be on her in a heartbeat, so he can't really let off very much. He has a fast bike right behind him.
Willows, California's George Amaro riding the Husqvarna, the 92Q. Comes
Good
into
run.
the squeeze one more time, Eddie, and he will take the checkered flag in race number 9, Sportsman 500 Intermediates. Ari James is going to take second on her Mako. Vintage sports bike racing. Man, it doesn't get any better than this.
That was a fun one. Great job out there. What a battle for first and second throughout the majority of that entire race. The absolute epitome of what we're hoping to see out here.
I love this part of my job. I can't tell you how much I love this part of my job. We're here with Pete from Fred Next. How you doing, Pete?
I'm doing great.
You've been here a long time here at Rattlers Run. How many years?
I think it's been 10 years.
10-year run. You guys have the best Huckleberry ice cream around, plus some great burgers.
Well, we try to please. I mean, return customers has been, the best thing for business.
And what's your specialty, would you say?
Burgers. We do.
Love the burgers.
Yeah, a lot of burgers.
Where can they find Fred Next in Rockford?
We're just in as you go across the creek over the bridge there on the left-hand side in the old false front. Looks like a little saloon right next to the fire station on the west side of the fire station.
You cannot miss Fred Next in Rockford. I mean, if you blink, you may pass Rockford, but you won't miss Fred Next, that's for sure. Just follow the smell of the good food with Pete.
And it's good.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you, guys.
We're going to break away for just a moment from the racing action. We'll return to the ARMA Nationals from Fairfield, Washington in just a moment. This special presentation of vintage motocross racing on SWX is brought to you by Northwest Steel Fab, your one-stop shop for steel, aluminum, and stainless steel fabrication, preparation, and coatings. We've been providing quality products to our customers worldwide since 1994. We're in the pits with my good friend Mike Allen. How you been?
Good. How you been, buddy?
How's everything at Allen Cycles these days?
Oh, we were so busy. Just building cool vintage race bikes and keeping everybody on the road, keeping them safe.
You've been doing this a long time.
38 years in business now, yeah. We are the second oldest running motorcycle shop under legal original ownership next to All Sport. They got us by 1 year.
Speaking of got you by 1 year, you were just behind Joe Kopp today. You've been doing this armor racing a long time as well.
I've been racing ARMA since 1990. Yeah, it's been a long time. A lot of races, a lot of fun, memorable times. And, yeah, it's not my first time, unfortunately, behind Joey. Been behind him, I think, most of my race career.
So out of all the bikes you've ridden during the ARMA Nationals, what's your favorite?
I'm real fond of my Honda Elsinore. It's been a good bike to me, but, you know, as we get older, we put on a couple pounds, so I'm not exactly a good 125 rider anymore, so now I'm riding the big bore stuff. So the Yamaha here has been doing me pretty good for the last couple years.
How about today?
Today I got third overall on her, so yeah, she did good one more time.
Mike Allen, thank you very much.
Trip, it's been a pleasure.
Well, they're going to drop the gate anyways. It's race number 11, the 50-plus experts now hitting the track here at Fairfield.
Good group of riders out here. There was 11 entries into this class.
Our vintage riders, including Ed Hines on the 22E, Lon Alexander on the 96, Mike Allen on the 98. As they begin to head up the hill, Ed Chandel on the 777, Jeff Mendez on the 105, Mark Amaro on the number 96, and Gary Granow on the number 67. Kelly Rambo, I believe, was able to get fired up and into the race on the 26. Dale Evandris on the number 33. Kevin McRae on the 60K. And Ed Hines, once again, on the 22E. Ernie Brown on the S7.
There you go. We've got a little bit of letters and numbers in these races. It's one way to distinguish some of these bikes. A lot of the same numbers, but they'll have some kind of a letter next to it to distinguish who is who.
And ARMA typically zones those letters out. If you're in a certain zone, they will designate you a letter. So if you're from a certain part of the West Coast, and I believe they do that as well nationwide. So
yeah, because in this race, we've got an E, a K, an F, an S, an R, a G. There's a little of everything out there.
Mint is one of those California riders, as we mentioned, that's here this weekend. Boy, a whole contingency. The freeways are going to be full coming out of here later on today.
Lots of RVs heading south. Yeah.
Southward bound. The 96 of Lon Alexander.
It looks like the 3R, that is, if I think right, looking at the gear, that looks like Andy James in that bike.
I'm guessing it is too.
Yeah, and he's riding the Triumph as well in this one. So I think that's James. I saw him earlier down at the start-finish line area, and that was the gear he's wearing. So looks like Andy James in third place there.
Could very well be. You know, he gets to delineate the track and, you know, puts out all the ribbons and waters the track. I would imagine he may not have to sign up.
No, he can kind of just hey, you know what, I can
race
this
throw my
one.
helmet on, get into our expert race where I belong, and yeah.
Well, this is his class for sure. The 50 and over expert class is what we got out on the track.
The ARMA Nationals here at Fairfield, Washington this weekend. Yesterday, the poker run, of course, they had a record attendance for the trials.
Great to see that. Great to see so many different aspects of riding and racing that are available for this weekend for these riders.
And no, they did not go to court or anything like that. I don't want to, not those kind of trials. No, this is sports.
Trial riding.
Yeah, you've tuned into the right station. We don't have trials like that on this.
No, and
this channel.
It's pretty phenomenal, some of the trial riding. You can see it. That's something that, if you're not familiar with what that is exactly,
It's skills riding.
Yeah, exactly. Jump on Google and Google trial motorcycle riding and watch these guys with the balance and the extreme precision that they can ride with. It's pretty competitive.
Gosh. Some of those Red Bull riders and stuff over in Europe.
And it's amazing what they're able to climb up and down on the rocks and things that they go over. And in situations that you can't even believe they could get a motorcycle through a section, and they do it all the time.
So, yeah, that trials course is always the Saturday before this race, and it has been for the last 10 years. You know, you get to see bikes that you've never seen before that are new, like Gas and Beta and Aprilia and Cagiva and all these bikes that are, European, and they, of course, they make the trials versions of these bikes that are just absolute. TM, another one.
Yeah,
just
unique
amazing
stuff there for sure.
So it's the newer side of our sport, and what we have out here on the Saturdays is a gentleman's trials is what they call it. And you actually see some of the guys dressing up in bow ties. I'm serious. I'm not kidding you. There is a gentleman's trials, and I know that kind of sounds a little bit weird. And why would they dress up? Because it was a gentleman's sport.
Yep. There you go.
Back in the early
they're keeping
days
their
of
tradition.
motorcycles. So
keeping with tradition. That's
they
good to
do
see.
keep with tradition. That's just part of the festivities out here at Rattlers Run on a weekend in September. And we'd love to see you guys out here in person, take it all in. It's an amazing event. They do a great job. And of course, it culminates with this race on Sunday.
And there's it's really comfortable out here. There's plenty of great food and bathrooms available, and you don't just have to come out here with your RV. There's all the amenities that you need to sit back and relax and enjoy the Palouse farmland and watch some great vintage motorcycle racing and have a great breakfast, lunch, and dinner out here.
One more lap to go for Jeff Mendez on the 105R Mako.
It's starting to tighten up a little bit though here for second and third. And it's like Andy was able to get around.
That is Andy James getting around Lon Alexander out of Lake Tapps, Washington.
There you go. So we swapped spots there. Everybody on the track is all in the 50 and over expert class. So everybody you see, there's no split gate in this race. Race number 11, everybody is racing everybody. So it's like James was able to take second place, but he's got his work cut out for him as Mendez has really built a nice lead out there out front.
Now, one thing you will see in this class that's a little different is the CC of bikes.
Yeah.
You'll see everything from 125s, 250s, 500s, some 350s and 360s, and all sorts of different numbers out there. Is a class that is not relegated by CCs as much as it is by age.
Age and experience. Yeah, age and ability level. Yep.
So the 50-plus expert class veterans are who is out here racing right now as Dale Evangelist takes his white flag. Our leader now comes up the hill.
Mendez is really doing a good job out there as he turns and heads down the downhill portion of the track, a high-speed section here, and he is on the gas again.
Back up the hill for just a little bit there on the gas.
Here he comes out of that right-hander and back up the hill a little bit he starts heading towards the checkered flag.
And as he heads towards the checkered flag, one of our riders stalling out, but he looks like he'll be able to get it started back. Let's see. It'll be Jeff Mendez.
Yeah,
taking the checkered flag.
We've got more from Fairfield, Washington coming up in just a second here on SWX. Don't go anywhere.
Look at this gate. Nearly a full one coming towards the top of the hill here as they make the left-hand turn into your open age experts, 50-plus novice and intermediates. Race number 12 as we watch Arma Vintage Motocross here on SWX.
And the familiar number 3 jumps out front, Joe Kopp. Some good riders in that open age expert though. John Seahorn in there. Carter Anderson as well. Some names we've been mentioning throughout the racing today that have been up front and fast throughout the day.
Gary Grona also in there on the 67 out of Port Angeles. 50 plus,
start.
50 plus novice class riders: Ken Hagman, Michael Carpenter, and Dwayne Diner.
Cobb, as usual, one of the best things, like any racer we'll talk about, get that hole shot. He always gets that great start, and once he does, he is hard to track down.
I think his philosophy was once told to me. He said, what was it? Okay. Go fast till you see God, then turn left.
There you go. It's about
I believe
his
that
flat
was
track style. Yeah.
pretty close to what he was telling us that one day.
He gets out front, boy, and once he gets going, he can set his pace that he's comfortable with, which is obviously extremely fast, and it is not an easy guy to track down.
Not a lot of boundaries for this particular race. No CC limits, no age limits.
Yeah.
Open age. So you put the best of the best out there.
See what they can do. Yeah, that
on
makes
the
for
best
good.
of what they've got.
Exactly.
And clearly, Joe Cobb has brought some of the best with him today.
Yeah, as anticipated. Whenever we're at the events that we cover, whether it's being flat track or out here, whenever his name is on the list, we know we're going to see some fast racing.
Joe Cobb out of Micah, Washington, just up the road from us here in Fairfield. Beautiful downtown Fairfield, Eddie.
Yeah, we're in the
you
heart of it.
notice this. I think we've, downtown Fairfield was across that hill for a long time. Now it's here.
Yeah, this is the spot to be.
Good food, great coffee, and all sorts of good stuff out here.
Yeah, Cobb continues to lead this one, and as he really ripping along as he heads down the hill. But still, that battle for second and third rages on, and Seahorn and Anderson are neck and neck as they head down the hill now. Good shot there as you see them coming into that hard left-hand corner.
And you can tell Anderson trying just about everything he can to muscle his way towards Seahorn, but Seahorn's got some power underneath him.
Yeah, he's able to pull away a little bit in certain spots. They kind of reel each other back and forth at certain different times. Cobb's leads stayed about the same. He seems to have settled into just the pace that he wants to run at that keeps his 150-yard lead or so. And the rest of the guys, though, they're going to battle it out for the second and third spot. That kind of slows them down from time to time and gives Cobb just freedom to run up front unchallenged.
Here comes Cobb back up the hill. Takes that dog leg left. Starting to catch up to the back of the field. Joe Cobb has not had any problems in these off-camber corners either, as we would expect.
Yeah, he's really navigating the course very well.
Not too many pockets of alfalfa still left in the main line as you make your way around the track here in Fairfield today. And earlier, as the track was breaking in, there were a few pockets underneath the dirt that was on top of it, making for some slick conditions. But so far, so good.
Well, and Seahorn's been able to pull away now as Anderson had some issues. And now you've got the battle that was once raging for second place is no longer. Seahorn has taken that one cleanly as Anderson had some problems and now has dropped back a little bit. So a clean 1, 2, and 3. Cobb still out front on the number 3, smoking Joe Cobb.
Joe Cobb followed by John Seahorn there. As you can see, he's up on the pegs. Maneuvering that bike. Oh, man, he looks good on that bike. Just standing on those pegs, just moving it around wherever he wants.
Giving it all she's got there for second place as Anderson in third, still trying to work his way back a little bit closer to Seahorn, but the guys have gapped each other out now fairly clean, and if it all holds true, we should see these guys finish as they were, 1, 2, and 3.
Open age experts, 50-plus novice and intermediates out on the track. One more lap to go in race number 12.
Smooth sailing there for the number 3 as he starts to wind his way through the end of this one for Joe Kopp.
And you got to imagine, with the type of bike that Joe Kopp typically rides on an average day as a professional motocrosser and flat tracker, you know, he jumps on some of the most modern of bikes, and when he gets on this particular ride, you know, a little bit of showmanship as he pulls a wheelie down the hill, displaying and showcasing some of the power that exists inside that Mako. You know, you get the feeling that this may be one of his favorite bikes, if he has a favorite at all.
Well, he's really riding it hard and very well. He's been smooth on it all day and just having some fun out there now. Like wheeling down the hill and being able to pass riders on the outside in part of that track that's not as got as much traction, like it was nothing. So what a great run for the number 3.
Joe Kopp's going to finish it up on the number 3 in the expert class, the open age expert class, that is.
The opportunity to talk to Troy Allen comes once every blue moon or so, and we had one last night. So how's it going, Troy?
It's going great. How you guys doing?
It's fun to see you out here at Fairfield and at the flat track. What did you bring with you today?
So it was a 1972 Yamaha MX250. It was donated to us by a good friend of ours who lives in Sandpoint. He's had it for years, since the 80s. It sat in a barn, so we pulled it out, blew the dust off it, put some tires on it, and here we are.
And it hasn't been a totally successful weekend just yet. You had some problems in practice. I know some of the dirt's kicking up in the first moto and jamming up your brakes.
Yeah, well, we're working the bugs out of her. That's what we're here today. Well, that's what we're here to do today. Work the bugs out of it. It's been sitting for a long time, and not everything's got oil and grease in it.
A sight from behind the bikes as the gate drops for our 60-plus experts and 60-plus intermediates coming up next. 2 gates on this particular race, race number 13, as it looks like, I believe, is that Roy Powell out in front? Let's double check. We have 2 groups of riders that are coming off the gate. Kent Conrad on the Z21. Chet Melito on the number 38M. Andy James on the 58.
Starting to get a little bit of dust now kicking up as you look at the track, and as they're heading up the hill, the dust starting to fly a lot more than it was a little bit earlier.
Chet Melito on the number 38M out of Marshall, Washington, riding the Allen Cycle Kawasaki here today. Ken Conrad out of Ording on the Suzuki. You've got Sean Chase out of Newburgh, Oregon on the Triumph. Good racing all around the track right now as they head up the other side of that double off cambered straightaway.
And we're really fast out front here in this one as it's getting started. We'll see how these first 3-4 riders are kind of bunched together, and very fast pace up front.
That's one thing you can say about this track. It's got some pace today.
Yeah, there's some speed out there. You definitely can really get after it, and these guys are going hard at the front of this pack.
John DeLagnis on the number 4Q, right behind the 38M of Chet Melito. On the 4Q, running in second. Looks like the 20 of David Backmeyer out of Spanaway, running in third.
Yeah, so we got Melito, DeLagnes, and Bachmeyer up front there. A Whitefish, Montana in second place. A couple Washington riders.
What a kick it must be to just horsepower up these hills with some of the classic horsepower that comes out of these bikes. Just, you know, it must be just a thrill to twist that throttle on some of these bikes.
And just the sound alone is great, and the sounds, the smells, the sights have all been wonderful out here today, and a beautiful blue sky.
Yeah,
awesome late summer day out here in Fairfield.
From feel to touch to smell, sight,
got it all.
You hear it.
It's going to be to taste pretty soon for me, Trip, because I think I'm going to be hitting down to the food cart there. I'm going to be getting some of the Frednicks.
Yeah, we've got Frednicks from Rockford, Washington here today. Pete and the gang, boy, they make a mean breakfast. Boy, it is so good.
Well, and then they're moving on to their lunch. They got the pulled pork sandwiches, the
Pony
hamburgers,
dogs
hot
and
dogs.
stuff. Yeah,
can't go wrong.
Really a fun time. Better food than you may find in the fair? What?
I don't know. He's throwing a challenge
don't
out
say
there.
that. Gonna get it kicked off the air.
No, we'll be fine. It's a challenge. All those chefs like a good challenge, right?
Oh, my goodness.
Well, we're still in the same spot, though, with this one. As Melito, there he is, flying along there. What a great shot of him on the gas up the hill a little bit there as he heads down towards the finish line section.
Also see there the 4Q of John DeLagnes out of Whitefish on the CZ. Got a glimpse there of the 51. Roy Powell out of Cheney in the intermediate class.
Well, with the dust that's starting to fly up a little bit, you can see it's a lot more fun to be in front than in behind as you're walking through little dust clouds there. But
there's a saying from, I believe it was Bob Hanna, that said, if you're not making dust, you're eating it.
That's about right. And you're starting to eat it a little bit if you're not up front in this one now.
Yeah, he was also the guy that said it was motocross is a hairy-chested sport.
Yeah, that's very accurate.
All these do apply.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Especially when these bikes were made, folks. You're watching ARMA Vintage Motocross, the ARMA Nationals here in Fairfield, Washington on SWX. I'm Trip Rogers. This is Eddie Wood, and we love to show you these beautiful bikes, and you not only get to see them, you get to hear them. We hope someday you get to actually come out here and touch them, because they'll let you.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing. You really get to learn a lot about the history of each bike. Each bike will have such a story to it as well. The races that it's been on, or how it was acquired, the work, and the commitment to the bike to keep it running and racing like they have. There's so much to each one of these bikes. It really does create a neat historical story of where they came from and what they've been through.
Obviously, there are riders out here today that spend a lot of time meticulously making sure that their bike is, number one, looking like it did back in the day, with as many of the new parts as they can get on there without making it look like a new bike.
Yeah, and that's the balance of it, is keeping it running and racing as safe as possible. As Melito takes the white flag there, he's really been out front on that one, and he's got some newer parts on that one. You can see some of the suspension, the front fender, the wheels and tires. He's got black rims, it looks like. That thing's
swing arm.
Yeah, that thing's a little more modern than some of the other ones, and definitely running fast.
Chet Melito riding the Moto Concepts Smart Tops number 38 for Allen Cycle Race Tech.
Definitely had some newer suspension there. Had that Öhlins look there with that little gold reservoir out there on the back and stuff like that. That'll keep that thing performing very well and keep that rear tire planted back on the track there for all the traction he can get. He's been really hooking up well and has continued to expand on his lead throughout this race. He's in the 16 over expert class.
Chet Melito is going to traverse across the top of the track one more time. He's got this tricky left-hand corner
going downhill. That may be the toughest part of the track right there.
Yeah, it's definitely tricky as that thing is sliding away from you as you're turning to your left. And once you get around that, you got a lot of speed in front of you too, because there's a long straightaway that you're cutting across the hillside, and then that downhill really is fast.
Getting these bikes shut down at the bottom of this hill must be a little bit of a task as well. You got a lot of weight coming down that hill.
Yeah, a lot of momentum going into that section. So yeah, you're definitely hard on the brakes there as you have a sharp left-hand turn, slow you down, and then right back on the gas again as you head up the hill. There he is, flying along.
He is definitely making dust. Definitely not eating it.
Yeah, what a great run there for the 38 Melito.
Chad Melito's going to be pleased with this result. The 38 takes the checkered flag in race number 13, the 60-plus experts and intermediates.
More action coming from Fairfield, Washington in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. Vintage motocross race coverage from Rattlers Run Farms is brought to you by Taco Del Mar, Live Baja, Coastal Mexican Cuisine in River Park Square, downtown Spokane, and by Thrifty Car Rental. Rent or buy a great vehicle, 2 locations to serve you. 8022 East Brake Avenue in Spokane and 1503 North 4th Street in Coeur d'Alene. By Ritter's Garden and Nursery for all your nursery and garden supplies plus gifts, located at 10120 North Division Street. And by High Mountain Horsepower. Get everything you need for your truck as well as used trucks for sale. 3020 North Flora Road in Spokane Valley. 30-second board goes up for our Classic 125 Intermediates and Novices along with our early Sportsman 250 experts. Race number 14, Eddie.
Yeah, there we go. We've already made it to race 14 out of 15 different classes. 15 different races that are grouped together. So there, race 14 is off and running and another clean start. Like to see that.
You're watching ARMA Vintage Motocross here on SWX, and Scott Koch on the 79Y with Cesar Vasquez on the 95 Mako, Joe Thomas and Joe Clockevold. Ed Shandel on the number 777. The 117 is Joe Clockevold. And we mentioned Joe Thomas. He's riding the 98T Bultaco.
Multiple California riders again in this race. A couple guys from Oregon, so well represented over here on the West Coast.
You've got Classic Intermediates in the 125s. Peter Stylberg and Vin Whitman. Chris Kerber on the 686 and Russell Heck on the 17C in the novice class along with Dale DeVore.
There's a wide turn for our leader there on the 117. Spokane Valley rider.
Joe Clockevold comes down the hill.
He's got some company coming up behind him. We'll have to get you see that number who's in second place there. Try to get a look here who's in first and second. Clockevold out front on the 117.
Whoa. Looks like the 98 of Joe Thomas.
Yeah. California rider. So Spokane Valley and California, 1 and 2.
It's Clockevold into the squeeze here. You notice that 98, interesting rear fender on that bike. That's the Bultaco.
That's a look for sure.
Yeah. Boy, I remember that was all the rage back then. They were like, oh man,
check that out.
Look at this. You know, we could almost hang a number plate off of it, they said.
Boy, they're close there. Coming into that as they head to the uphill portion. Those guys neck and neck for first and second. See if this tightens up a little bit here.
Boy, this part of the hill too has been very competitive all day today. Lots of passing right there in that corner.
These guys are right there as he's trying to go down on the outside.
Clockevold.
Look at the dirt.
The Bultaco gets shut out.
Kind of ran into some real soft dirt, it looked like. They're kind of bogged down the front end a little bit, had to fight his way through that corner. Slowed him down a bit.
Klockenvold holding on to what's a small advantage right now in first place with Joe Thomas behind him as we take a look.
See that here? Ooh, look at that deep dirt right there.
They're starting to catch some of that dump out there.
Yeah, if you get a little wide, there's definitely going to be a fast groove in this one now. And once you get outside of it, a lot of dust, that's kind of dirt that's built up, and bog you down a little bit.
So some very soft berms starting to form out there, and if you run into one, well, you can already tell what
it happens. Yeah, buries that front tire a little bit, throws your weight off, throws the balance of the bike off, and you have to regroup, and obviously that's going to slow you down.
Klockenvold, Thomas, 1 and 2 as they head towards us.
A good shot there. The guy's heading up the hill a little bit and heading down into the last couple corners to hit to the finish line again.
Boy, they are racing it out.
Both on the gas.
The Husky and the Bultaco battling for first place in the Sportsman 250 Experts.
Oh, on the inside.
There goes the Bultaco.
Trying to get in the inside. Now it flips.
I don't know if that's a good position to be in or not. They are way outside.
Drag race right by him, though. There you go.
But there goes the Bultaco out in front. Klockenvold still holding on. Joe Thomas firmly out in front, but Klockenvold, you can't shake him. You can only hope to bake him.
There you go. Thomas got around him on that outside and really took an outside line onto the alfalfa there. Was able to get enough traction and just drag raced his way straight down the line there and took the lead.
It's Joe Thomas out of California, Carmichael, California to be exact. Joe Klockenvold.
The way he's running, though, I tell you, with Thomas up front, he's kind of extended that lead now. He looked as though he just needed to get a little clean sailing out in front of him, and he could try to extend that lead, and he's really picked up the pace and extended the lead out for himself a little bit now. It's not going to be easy for Klockenvold to get back a hold of him now. He's pulled a nice little lead. But as far as the power that's coming out of the thing, it's been pretty solid.
For sure.
Thomas is cruising along with it up front. And you can see he just snugged up there on that tank, coming up out of the saddle a little bit here, and they're going through some bumps that have formed throughout the day, and some breaking different bumps that are out there on the track now, and adjusting to how the track has changed. But boy, it really has come around, though, Trip. You look at all the grooves and the rip up that we've seen from all that alfalfa, and they've really got some pretty good traction, it looks like now.
Yeah, in fact, the bikes are ripping it up so well, they need about 300 more bikes out here to do the whole field.
Yeah, there you go. You could really level this thing out. I would not have anticipated that we could have almost put water down on the track at this point today as well. If you had a water truck, you could even water it. I thought we were going to have rain.
I'm sure they'll be doing that for the later portions of the race.
We'll take it. Whenever that's your problem, is we got to have the water truck out. It's a good day. Hot, sunny, comfortable racing day here in Fairfield.
Looks like the 98T is going to take the checkered flag. It's Joe Thomas out of Carmichael, California on his Bultaco with that fancy fender.
We're going to break away real quick here on SWX. More racing action right after these words from our sponsors.
30-second board goes up for Sportsman 250 Novice Class and Early Sportsman 250 Novice, along with our Early Sportsman 250 Intermediate
and 500 novice class riders. We've got some premier riders out there as well, the 350 experts and the 350 intermediates, all in this race.
Good start again. That's our 15th race off the gate. And everybody clean out there again, which is nice to see.
But it is getting a little bit tricky. I mean, with the drier conditions that are starting to take over, we'll see some water probably a little bit later on. But hey, it is a little bit tricky before we get to break.
Yeah, look at all that dust that's kicking up as they head up the hill there. That's definitely something that's been new the last 6-7 races. So it's in your face. If you're not out front, you're definitely going to have some visibility obstruction right out in front of you to deal with. A lot of dust, and that's just part of the race.
One of the things you'll see at a lot of other motocross tracks that you don't see at this track is, well, of course, jumps, but you also don't see cats, bulldozers.
Yeah, they don't need to do that. They're just let this thing start, finish. They mark it off. You start to practice and start creating the track. The bikes do it.
We got some combines.
Yeah, that's true. Got a heck of a lead, though, on this one out of the gate as well as on the first lap. They're starting to spread out already.
Paul Dury on the 721. Just racing in the fields. That's what we're doing. Paul Dury is racing around in the fields. There's the 3AV. That's Mike Adkins out of Stockton, California.
Paul Dury out front there, clean lead for him. Jim Cole there.
And it looks like a
second.
problem there for the X16 of Rich Bennett out of Coeur d'Alene. He's back up and running, but the old Yamaha MX
out front.
Yeah. And like I said, if you look at the lines on that gas tank, and you were a kid of the 70s, you may have thrown your leg over one of these at some point.
Yeah,
and,
how many of those they sold, but boy, they
sure did.
Had a good run there. Some of those
sure
Hondas
did.
and Yamahas really were flying out of the dealerships.
The Enduro. The Yamaha Enduro.
Yeah, luckily they made a whole bunch of them because now we can still be riding them out here today.
Exactly.
Oh, he's still hanging out front though, Dury. He's in that spot we want. No dust in his face and riding his own pace. Just comfortable out there. Down the descent there. You can see the bike starting to bounce around a little bit through areas. You're on that braking section, but easily navigated. Nothing that's too rough. And he can just really settle in again and just keep enjoying that vintage bike out front and then have a fun day riding and racing here in Fairfield, Washington.
Boy, that number 721 hasn't let him down all day long. Paul Dury out of Donnelly, Idaho. The Yamaha rider, 51 years old, now comes into the squeeze. A section of track designed to slow these riders down just a little bit. Just a couple laps left for these riders as Dury starts to make his way through the lap traffic.
He's heading so far to a victory, and behind him still the 87U of Jim Cole out of Chehalis, Washington. He's on a BSA.
There's Mike Adkins on his BSA. You notice there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 BSAs in this race number 15 out on the track. I believe that is more than any other bike. Yamaha in second place with 3.
There's a Mako and a Honda, Suzuki, Yamahas, of course, and a CZ out there. There's a little bit of everything.
Interesting array of bikes out there.
Yeah, there is just a plethora of different things to choose from out here. And this one's kind of all over the map on different riding aggressiveness, ability. We've got novice, intermediate, and experts all on the track. We've got 500cc, 350s, 250s, so a big range of different skill levels and bikes out here for race number 15.
Atkins moving around.
Cole
for position.
Yep, so DeRee out there from Donley, Idaho. He's in the Sportsman 250 intermediate class. He's out front, and in the 350 expert class, right behind him is the battle between Atkins and Cole. Cole held it down for the majority of the race, the rider out of Chehalis, Washington, but on the 3V, Mike Atkins from Stockton, California on a BSA was able to get around Cole, and he's in second place, I guess you'd say overall, but really first place in his class in that 350 expert group. And out front, though, Paul DeRee on the 721. White lap for race 15. 15 different races. They turn around and do it all over again. So that's one thing about entering these races. You get a lot of seat time. If you enter a couple different classes, which the majority of these guys you'll see are in 3 or 4 different races, right, let alone the practice time you can get in the morning. So by the time this day is done, you've spent a lot of time on the bike, which is exactly what you want. If you're going to be able to make all this time, energy, and money that it takes to get here from California, well, why not get a lot of riding in? That's the way to do it.
Well, they've come a long ways, and they've ridden quite a bit so far today, and it's been a successful ride for many of these riders from all around Washington, Idaho, Oregon, and California. The 721 of Paul DeRee takes the checkered flag on that Yamaha Enduro 250. Coverage from the Army National continues on SWX right after these words from our sponsors. The Army National showcased some of the most beautiful bikes we've seen in a long time and some great riding today here, Eddie.
Yeah, we really saw some great racing, Trip. It was clean all day. A lot of respect by these riders out here. Some really good battles that we saw for first and second place throughout the day. And really, we couldn't ask for anything more from the weather. It really cooperated. It was one of the best events we've had out here. What a great year on SWX for motocross, flat track, and now these vintage racing. 2019 out here in the Spokane area was really a good one.
And we look forward to 2020 already. Thanks for joining us today on SWX. We hope to see you again here real soon. For Eddie Wood, I'm Trip Rogers. Good afternoon.